Let me show you how it's done.
Welcome. You are listening to The Drop, a podcast on business, tech, and influence. I am one half of The Drop, Tam Danier, head of strategy. I lead insights and product. I focus on tech, in particular, solutions that solve real-world problems. And I'm here with...
My name is B. Pagels Minor. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I have been a product manager for over a decade at some of the world's most well-respected companies like Sprout Social, Apple, and Netflix. I've led teams that built important parts of the App Store, launched games at Netflix, built listening at Sprout Social. All in all, my DNA is fully being a product manager.
So Jay-Z and Jack Dorsey is launching a Bitcoin Academy in a public housing complex. This is the Twitter co-founder and the Block CEO, Jack Dorsey, who's teaming up with the artist Jay-Z, Sean Carter, to launch the Bitcoin Academy at Marcy Houses. Now, this hasn't gone live yet. It set up a lot of reactions online. We have not seen this actually happen, so we don't know what a real program looks like, but it is questionable, right? And so I've got questions. And I'll start off. Just want to understand what the intent here is. My first question is this financial literacy or marketing?
Is this a free equipment program or is it not?
How do they define financial literacy?
What careers do they think these kids are going to have after going through this program?
Who will this be taught by? Actual people or actual people that became independently financially wealthy via Bitcoin or others?
Well, is the goal financial, independent financial wealth, or is the goal education on Bitcoin?
Who came up with this idea and who came to who first?
I mean, we know who came to who first.
Do we?
I have to make that comment. We know who came
I don't know.
first.
Do we? I don't know. That's a question.
I feel like Jack lives and breathes Bitcoin. So yeah.
That's a real question.
Why the Marcy projects? Jay-Z has a deep connection there, but there are a lot of places that also have these programs. I mean, I'm sure there's a local program in New York that has it.
To that extent, is financial literacy different for white kids?
Mm-hmm. Also, why not partner with a local organization that is already doing this work? Why are we recreating this?
Who else did Jack Dorsey tap? Matt Damon, Paris Hilton, Justin Bieber.
What does Jay-Z get out of this?
Is this a Ponzi scheme?
How is it not a Ponzi scheme?
Does everybody get a free Cash App app? Or a free Cash App account? Does everybody get a free Cash App account?
Oh yeah, what are is the MiFi, so they're giving them MiFis, and the MiFi is going to give them internet for free forever?
Here's a question. Is the thesis of this program that the reason why Marcy Project residents are not financially stable is because they never invested in Bitcoin? Or is the thesis that investing in Bitcoin is your path out of Marcy Projects? And if so, where's the success story?
Yeah, so this is a 12-week program. How are you going to maintain the skills and education for these folks to actually capitalize and make Bitcoin a part of their lives?
How will you know this program is successful? What does success look like?
Do they care if the program is successful?
How many Bitcoin millionaires does this program expect to create?
I'm out of questions because I feel like, the thing is, I feel like the questions that we have, regardless of whether it shows skepticism, what it more so shows is that there's, you can't build a program, right? You cannot build a program without there also being a commensurate structure, right? So this is a continuation of the lack of structure and rigor around Black folks, right? When you think about systemic racism, right, there's a structure to inhibit Black folks from being successful. The first thing I thought of when I saw this, I was like, okay, so you're going to give them free Wi-Fi and a cell phone and a 12-week program and dinner every night. I was like, the only thing out of it that's interesting is the cell phone and the dinner every night, right? Thank you. But I didn't understand, so one, I think Tam, you and I have talked a lot that we don't think Bitcoin is a panacea. We don't. I do think that crypto at some point could be very useful. I think that there's interesting ways it could be applied. Almost all of these applications that we've seen so far do a great deal for the people who are first in, right? The people who are there on day one. But the people who get there on day 365, day 730, day 1095, those are the ones who are left holding the bag without those value adds. So what I would ask Jay-Z, what I would ask Jack is, how are you going to give these kids that next thing that hasn't come out yet so they can be the first ones in for the first time? Like, that's how you create tremendous wealth.
Yes to all of that. But I'm also wondering, does this come with a fiduciary responsibility? It's one thing to give information, it's another thing to give information that's responsible. What seems odd to me is I've never heard of a financial program being run via a cell phone, right? That's never really the tool of choice. So what is it that they're going to be doing on these cell phones? Why is this a critical equipment of the program? Is this financial literacy, or is this marketing, or is this financial literacy? Will they disclose their partnerships? Or is this a lot like one of those meetings, when you take a free vacation and you got to sit in a meeting and they're like, there's a bouncer at the door, you can't leave the room. If you took the cell phone, you got to stay here. Are they also opening up crypto wallets for them? Is that part of the deal as well?
It's so interesting. Like, so I've gone to the website. So obviously we can only critique what we think their intent is here because they haven't put up the full curriculum, right? Like, sure. So we don't know what the full curriculum is. And I was even looking at teachers and I was like, I didn't really understand how they found these folks because I didn't understand how they were going to be different or they had like a special skill set. What is unique about these particular teachers? If it were me and I was putting this program together, I would go find the folks who have been teaching this better than anyone else in the whole world because I'm a billionaire, and I would do it. So the one person his name is Lamar Wilson. He's the Black Bitcoin billionaire. Okay. And then another person called Naja J. Roberts, who's the crypto blockchain plug. And they've had publicity, right? So they've been on publicity things. If they were very serious about this, instead of these being like influencers in this space, why aren't they engineers, right? Why aren't they engineers who have built many blockchains, many crypto, who have, who can really show these kids exactly how to set up a wallet, how to mine for Bitcoin so that they can do it themselves? Like, this sounds like it's going to be more theory, right? Just based on the people who it says are the instructors right now, right? It seems like it's going to be theory.
Or is this no different than, these online classes make $1,000 in a day? And let me walk you through the screen share of how to set up, a wallet. Is that just that in person? Instead of screen sharing your step-by-step process of opening a wallet, I'm going to put you in a room and give you the phone and walk you through it. And are they also going to give them microloans as well? Maybe a coupon to give to their family members and say, hey, why don't you sign up? What's the next iteration of this? Yeah.
Well, that's why I went back to, it seems like the dinner and the cell phone are the best parts of this, right? Because I'm just like, I'm like, I can watch this webinar somewhere else, right? You can give me the YouTube links and give me my favorite jerk chicken.
This is a very elaborate scheme to give away free cell phones and dinner, right? You could what?
I'm assuming
that Academy just to give me a cell phone. You could have just come by with a Christmas bag and dropped these cell phones. Santa.
And the thing is, so the thing is, I'm like, maybe on that cell phone, it's going to have a Cash App on it. If they can buy some Bitcoin. Actually, if everyone in this program got $100 in Bitcoin automatically deposited on their phone, I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, whatever. I was like, it's fine.
Okay.
I think that's reasonably acceptable.
To that extent, here's a question for you then about the broader thing of this. There's a lot of criticism, right? One of the criticisms online was, this is essentially like taking the kids to the casino, right? Why call it Bitcoin? Why not call it Blackjack Academy? Like, what's the difference, right? Is this really kind of purveying on this community, right? But on the other hand, at the end of the day, is this not just an extension of influencing, right? If it were, if it were Miami, he would go to Pitbull, right? If it were, white women, he would go to Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop or something like that. Like, is this not just Jay-Z just an influencer? And hey, if you want access to my people, I'll give you the very place I came from, Marcy Projects. And is Jay-Z just the influencer here, or is this Jay-Z's initiative?
Well, so two things. I think we need to take a step back and explain why people are comparing it to casinos or blackjack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason for that is because Bitcoin does not currently have a great deal of practical application, right? So, if someone goes in and think they're going to become a Bitcoin millionaire and then be able to just use that in any way that they want, in the same way that they can use cash or currency that's in a bank account or whatever, it's not true, right? Like you have to be able to take something and purchase something. And true, you can make some purchases with Bitcoin, no question about that. However, it doesn't give you the same mobility, especially in the United States, which is where we're talking about. We're not talking about other countries, as cash does, right? So that's why it feels like a gamble, right? Like you're telling these folks to put your money over here in Bitcoin because there's going to be some kind of economic profitability here. And we know that's fundamentally not true, right? Because one, we haven't figured out a consistent application of Bitcoin yet. And then secondly, we know fundamentally that Bitcoin and all of the cryptocurrencies have lost a crap ton. They're like more than 50% down, right? So there's a lot more volatility in that space than there is in normal currency. So I think it's important that we define why people are calling it a casino. Now, to the point of Jay-Z, this is right on brand for Jay-Z in my opinion, right? So Jay-Z very much seems to be like one of those pull yourself up from by your bootstraps, and the only thing that's keeping you from being successful is literally, the fact that you can't dream it. If you can think it, if you have the right mindset, you can make it happen. That's my impression of him. And it's a very problematic impression, right? Because first and foremost, no one who is wealthy has done it by themselves. Right. There's no such thing as a self-made millionaire or billionaire. And the reason I say that is that if you have lived in any country, right, pretty much any country, there's some kind of system in that country about education. There's some kind of system in that country about healthcare. There's some kind of system in that country about logistics, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. Right. If you start a company and you have employees, right, somebody in that company, that company's employees went to school. And the only reason they can be your employee is because there's an educational system that existed. So there's no such thing as completely self-made. Yeah. What it is people being given opportunities that they deserve, right? That's the difference between wealthy and not wealthy people, right? If Elon Musk, right, he started off as a millionaire and then he became a billionaire because he started off as a millionaire. Kylie Jenner, she's not the youngest self-made billionaire. No. First of all, she needs to be kissing Kris Jenner's feet because Kris Jenner has figured out how to continually make billionaires over her somewhat not overly impressive cast of kids. That's all I'm saying.
Does she just have a strong pimp hand?
Say that one time.
Does she just have a strong pimp hand? Is that
oh hell
what
yeah?
The skill is?
Okay. Honestly, I'm over here like Kris Jenner. Come over here and look at me. I'm a very nice person. I know for a fact that you can make me successful.
Can I be your bottom bitch? That's
I'm basically I'm like, Kris, let me hold your bag. Because Kris makes golden trophy. Kris Jenner. That's all I'm gonna say. Because Kris Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, who was Caitlyn? Caitlyn Jenner won a couple Olympics, yes. But Caitlyn didn't have nothing till Kris was like, you know what, let me go ahead and figure this out. And the next thing you know, Caitlyn up in movies, getting commercials, doing public speaking type stuff. That's the Kris Jenner effect. Okay, I'm sorry.
Really doing
I came for Kris Jenner. I came for Kris Jenner. Okay.
So I think you made 2 points, right? That hey, calling this the Bitcoin Academy, and I think the broader point that you made about Bitcoin not being a proven mainstay in society yet. I think that's part of the trouble I think a lot of the broader public is going to have with calling this a financial literacy program. What financial theory can you really base around Bitcoin at this point? It's about 10 years old, right? The financial system is much larger. There's theory behind it that's been tested, and that you can build a financial literacy program with the knowledge we have with the current financial system, right? What financial literacy program can be really truly built around 10 years of the history of Bitcoin. I think the only real takeaway you'll come out with is it's extremely speculative. You really can't trust it. It's, it's trading at about $20,000 today. Today is what's today's date? The 17th. It's about $1,000 off from being at its 2017 peak. So we're very close to just this fluctuation. That's 5 years ago. So I don't know what kind of financial literacy you can truly build around that.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, this is why I said this. It's very strange to me, because if you actually wanted this to be successful, you need to put engineers in the room with those kids who can teach them just generally, I think, about crypto. Because like I said, I'm kind of okay with the concept that crypto, one day when we can figure out consistent application of crypto, I think it's going to be tremendous, right? Because there's a lot of interesting security, regulatory, trust that could be built with crypto that doesn't exist with a lot of products today. And so I think there's a lot of value that can be delineated from this. And so I would be very excited about a crypto academy led by real engineers who taught these kids about the applications and got them curious, because I do think curiosity is important.
Crypto or blockchain? I'm sorry, crypto or blockchain?
Blockchain. This is my brain.
Yeah.
My brain.
Yeah. We got to record that. You got to go back. That's why I wanted to catch that. You said crypto several times. Go back.
We're going to go back.
Blockchain. Yes.
I mean, so if this academy was about blockchain, right? If it had a bunch of really sophisticated engineers who were coming in there to teach these kids about the possible applications of blockchain, how they could do it, how this could impact their lives, how this could impact the world, I would be 100% for it. Right. Sure. And the reason for that is because I do think curiosity is the most important thing that you can inspire in any human. Right. So it's I remember the first time, I read, any of the science books, like Isaac Asimov, all those people, I was just like, this is some weird, crazy shit, right? I was like, I don't know, I don't understand it. It's completely crazy to me. But all of a sudden I was like, well, what if we did go to space? Right? What if we did do these things, right? And so there's something that's powerful about unlocking someone's curiosity and inspiring them to think about and create. And that's where I think innovation comes from. So if that was what the goal was if the goal was to get these people excited about the blockchain, right? Because Square is called Block now anyway. So why are we talking about Bitcoin when he's supposed to be about blockchain with the he being Jack? Then I don't understand, because crypto is just one application, and we want to see multiple applications.
That is a question to ask. I do think, on the other hand, I would hope, because I would challenge the idea that this financial literacy is about building wealth. There's none of them that are sponsoring this program that got their wealth through Bitcoin, right? And to teach people that their pathway to wealth is through Bitcoin, I think is a dangerous thing. The idea that there are courses online saying you're going to be wealthy in the stock market is a dangerous thing as well. That's not where wealth comes from in this company. There are three main factors that contribute to wealth. It's capital markets, people who move money, so major investments, right? It's if you are an entrepreneur, if you build a business in this country, you can become wealthy. And if you're a savant, if you're an artist or an athlete, those are the three main ways. The stock markets are about maintaining wealth, right? Nobody's going to invest $100 and become a millionaire in a year. That's not how that works. The idea that they're presenting that as a path to wealth is ridiculous. If it's a path to financial literacy, that's one thing. But again, then I go back to, why is Bitcoin the platform to teach financial literacy? It's only 10 years old.
Yeah. So one quick thing here, because I want to argue, but I disagree slightly on one thing, right? So the three examples that you provided, so there's two other ones. One, you can inherit wealth, right? So we have to acknowledge that. Sure. And the second is, technically, if you work every day of your life and you invest consistently, you could become what some people might consider wealthy. But that's a very long period of time to wait. So when we're talking about wealth here, we're talking about wealth at a younger age, essentially, is what we're describing here. So I like to clarify that point, because to your point, I don't want to take risk right? Like, who wants to take risks to build wealth? And also to that point, also, you know, Jack and Jay-Z, their wealth is from a diverse portfolio, right? Because we know diversifying your
Their wealth came from entrepreneurship. Jack, he started Twitter. That's his wealth.
But
and Jay-Z is savant. And Jay-Z is savant. Yeah, no, he was wealthy as a founder of Twitter, and that was his main thing, right? But it's through that entrepreneurship and through being a savant. There goes Jay-Z, and now he gets to, if you're talking about he was rich through those things and became wealthy by manifesting or investing those riches, neither Jay-Z nor Jack Dorsey invested $100 in Bitcoin and got rich. Neither in a susu or a blooming flower petal group thing, right? So the idea that they're pushing this message that you're going to get wealthy through investing in cryptocurrencies.
Well, no. My simple point was that they so I agree that they fit in those categories, but I'm just saying those fitting those categories gave them money, diversifying, and having lots of different investments is what made them wealthy, right? So again, having someone laser focused on Bitcoin doesn't seem like a logical or strategic method, right?
For Jack Dorsey, it is. For Jack Dorsey, it does. For Jack Dorsey, who's rich and wants to be wealthy, he's gonna.
I'm talking about the kids. I'm talking about the kids. I'm just saying. So to your point about financial literacy, like if I were doing a financial literacy class, I'd be like, hey kids, I was like, you can do a little bit of investment in Bitcoin if you like, but also make sure you have some stocks. Also make sure you have some property. Like that's the actual financial literacy class. You know, that's all my point. Right. And so I just want to so bringing this back to current startups, current corporate environment, all that type of stuff. So I see so many companies come through as potential investment opportunities. They're trying to do something in the blockchain, in NFT, in crypto. And I'm just like, guys, okay, so first and foremost, there are seemingly like 20 million of you, right? You all are trying to do like just something that's like not even 5 degrees of separation from the other idea. It's like this is essentially basically similar idea, just slightly different. And so I would beg of you, if you're thinking about creating a blockchain or crypto type or NFT company, just don't do it. Or if you're going to do it, go do your research and actually do something that's different than everyone else. Because I'm tired of seeing all my investment opportunities basically be the exact same thing. And so I've just like stopped investing in all of it. I'm just like, I don't understand how any of you are going to be successful.
Copy and paste.
Seem like there's enough innovation for, even a small part of this.
Thank you so much for listening to the Drops Podcast. We love having you. We love your feedback. Please do connect with us across social media. We are the Drops Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And we also have a great email, thedropspodcast@gmail.com. You can send in any questions that you have, and we definitely would love to answer them on the podcast. Feel free to ask just about anything because we have experienced a ton of different things. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Drops Podcast.